Hey everyone, February 12th today, Super Bowl Sunday. Obviously, I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I'm busy doing astrology videos, but welcome to another one from investingsuccess.ca. Today, I want to talk about Potash Fertilizer. I want to introduce you to a major company in Western Canada that mines potash fertilizer. I want to talk about how potash fertilizer has been affected by the geopolitics of the war in Ukraine. I want to talk about just how essential it is to agriculture the world over. And I want to show you then how events of the cosmos pertaining to the first trade horoscope of this Canadian potash miner can be used to help you understand the swing highs and the swing lows that appear on the stock chart. So first up, what is potash? Well, here's a picture of an underground mine in Western Canada. There's a miner walking along a mine shaft here. The rock in the mine shaft is a whitish, brownish, almost a little tinge of pink in there. That is potash. 550 million years ago, much of North America was covered by a shallow, salty ocean. And eventually, those salty waters receded, except something happened in Western Canada. There was a pocket of this salty water that got trapped. It didn't properly drain. And over time, the water in that salty deposit evaporated, leaving nothing more than salt. And then over 550 million years of geological time, sand and grit and sediment blew over that patch of salty deposit and buried it. 550 million years is a very long time. And so today, what you've got is a mixture then in these salty deposits of potassium chloride, potassium oxide, a mineral called langbeinite, which is a potassium magnesium sulfate, and a mineral called carnallite, which is a potassium magnesium chloride. So these four minerals collectively are what we call potash, and they are what was left over from this 550 million year event, which left a pocket of salty water stranded in what is today Western Canada. Here's a map of the three western provinces, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and you can see this pink area here, which comprises the entire almost bottom half of Saskatchewan. That is where your potash is. And it is about 3,000 feet deep. So that picture earlier of the miner walking along the mine shaft, yeah, he's 3,000 feet beneath the surface. So there's a bit of an engineering challenge to getting this stuff out, but Saskatchewan has drawn a lot of investment capital over the past 40 years. The company I'm going to introduce you to is Canadian in nature, but there's also American companies that are actively mining the stuff in Saskatchewan. Maybe 10 years ago, we had a German company that came in and dropped a massive sum of money and developed a world-class potash project. Just last week, we got news that Australian mining company BHP is going to be spending untold billions of dollars to develop their own potash project right in this pink area in southern Saskatchewan. Now, are we the only geographic area that has been so blessed? No, we're not. Just north of the Ukraine, there is a geological feature called the Dnieper-Donetsk Basin. At the upper end of the Dnieper-Donetsk Basin, similar kind of thing. 500 million years ago, the basin didn't properly drain. It left behind a pocket of salty, shallow water. The moisture evaporated. The salts were left behind, covered with 500 million years of dirt and sediment, to the point where today, in this red area here in Belarus, former Soviet Socialist Republic of Belarus, if you dig down 4,000 feet beneath the surface, you're going to be into substantial deposits of potash. In Russia proper, at the northern end of the Ural Mountains, there is a potash deposit at what the Russians call Solikamsk 2. If you want to do something interesting, do some Google searches on Solikamsk, or do a Google search on Russian potash, and you'll probably find some pictures of the villages and towns in this Solikamsk region. Now, the potash deposits there are shallow, about 1,300 feet. And to put it very bluntly, it's turned into an engineering nightmare for these guys. Gigantic sinkholes are opening up, swallowing up small towns and villages. And I don't know how much longer these guys can keep the Solikamsk mining project going, but it's turning into something rather ugly. But whatever they mine there, they basically load it onto rail cars and they ship it across Siberia by rail down through Mongolia into China, and the Chinese are the big buyers of this Russian potash. But not all of it. Some of it has been making its way by rail to seaports like St. Petersburg, where it is then shipped around the world. So to sum it all up, Canada produces about 22 million tons a year, and that's about a third of the global output. Russia, 15 million tons, most of it from that Solikamsk region. And then, of course, Belarus, 13 million tons a year. But here's where geopolitics enters the fray. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has turned everything on its head. There have been sanctions applied against potash out of Russia and Belarus. Now, because it is a fertilizer and a necessary ingredient for agriculture, world powers have been very delicate in how they've applied the sanctions. Instead of just slapping a huge monetary penalty, they've gotten creative. Shipping companies are having trouble getting insurance on their seagoing vessels. If one of these vessels laden with potash has to pull into a European port to refuel, no, they're not being allowed to do that. So the sanctions are very clever, very creative, but the bottom line is, going forward, as long as this Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, Canada is going to be the center of suspense, intrigue, and romance when it comes to potash. As I said, it is necessary, it is critical for the growing of agricultural crops. Wheat, soybeans, cereal grains, corn. We would not be getting the bushels per acre that we're getting if it were not for potash fertilizer. How does it work? Well, in the spring of the year, a farmer is going to plant seeds in the ground. You'll see farmers in the US Midwest and in Western Canada going through their fields with a tractor and a seeder and a big tank on wheels. The tank on wheels contains the seed and a mixture of nutrients such as potash and other fertilizers. The seeds, when they're in the soil, start to grow. The growing plant absorbs the potassium mineral salts, and that little growing plant goes from being a seedling to 120, 140 days later being a full mature crop. So in the case of, let's say, corn, the farmer then will combine and harvest his corn in the fall of the year, and he will get, thanks to that potash fertilizer, the nutrient, 150, 160 bushels to the acre. So the US and other countries are producing copious amounts of food thanks to this very humble mineral salt that we call potash. The United States imports 93% of its potash. A small portion of it is mined in places like New Mexico. But really, the U.S. is dependent on importing it, and that's why I said at the outset, there are U.S. companies that have set up shop in Saskatchewan to mine the potash. You're going to see probably more and more of it from Canada come into the U.S. Brazil. Now, here's a big one. 91% of its potash is imported. Agriculture in Brazil is really about the deforestation of the rainforest. The soils in Brazil are nutrient poor, and so over half of the potash coming into Brazil has been coming out of Russia. Well, let me tell you, that just changed in a real big hurry. So you're going to see more and more Russian potash off the market, and you're going to see Brazil import a lot of it now from Canada. Australia, here's another one. 70% of its potash is imported, and over half of it is from Canada. So how do we get it from Western Canada to Australia? Very simple. We mine it, load it on rail cars, we transport it to the West Coast, to a terminal facility near Vancouver. There it's loaded onto ocean-going freighters, and off it goes to places like Australia. So if half of their imports are from Canada, that means the other half have likely been from places like Russia and Belarus. Well, that just changed in a real big hurry again, and you're going to see our friends down under start to import more of it from Western Canada. So the company I want to talk to you about is called Nutrien. It traces its origins back to the 2nd of November 1989. Back in those days, it was called Potash Corp, but today it's called Nutrien. And if I look at a horoscope wheel for 2nd of November 1989, I see the midheaven at 0 of Libra, the ascendant at 9 of Sagittarius. All of the planets, with the exception of Jupiter. Jupiter's over here by himself. All of the other planets fall into basically two groupings on that horoscope wheel. So then when I look at that, I say, well, this is fairly intuitive. We're looking then for transiting celestial bodies like the moon, the sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus, to pass by these groupings of planets. And that hopefully then will trigger swing highs and swing lows on a chart of Nutrien. So let's have a look and see if that is the case. Before I do, just a reminder, the data that you're looking at in this case is heliocentric. The examples that I've had in my previous videos where I've talked about things like silver, that has been heliocentric data. So now you're doing geocentric. And geocentric data is taken from our vantage point here on Earth. And you can get this data online. You can buy something like the New American Ephemeris for the 21st century. You can get software programs, but it is geocentric. So having a copy of that 1989 first trade horoscope with the planets in those two little clusters, you're then going to use your data and you're going to look and see what are the dates when Moon, Mercury, Sun, Mars, Venus, and possibly Jupiter pass by those groupings of planets in that natal first trade horoscope wheel. So here we go. In the starting from April of 2022, going through to October, what do we see? In April of 22, potash, or Nutrien rather, made a peak, and then the price started to come down. Why did it peak? Why then? Why there? Well, the moon was passing the natal sun, the moon was passing natal Mercury, natal Mars. Why did the price suddenly turn and start heading higher in July? You had moon passing the natal moon, moon passing natal Venus. Now, in between these two extremes, obviously you've got other ups and downs. Sure, if you looked at each one of them individually, they're going to align to moon passing something or Mercury passing something. I'm just showing you the extremes here on this slide. So in July, the price starts trending higher. It stops eventually. Why? Mercury was passing the natal midheaven. The ascendant was passing as well, the natal midheaven. So in terms of how clean and accurate astrology is, this is one of the most accurate stocks that I've seen, for the simple reason that your planets in that first trade horoscope are clustered into those two groupings and not scattered all over the horoscope wheel. Makes it very easy for a person to analyze. So carrying on, in very early November 2022, suddenly one day, the price of Nutrien plummeted. It gapped down on some news that the markets didn't like. Well, why were the market participants on that day so itchy and twitchy and sensitive, and why did they just panic and start dumping shares? Sun was passing the 1989 natal sun. That was a major anniversary event, if you will. People tend to overreact on these sun passing natal sun events. If you look at enough stock charts, you'll see what I mean. The price then started to climb higher, filled the gap, but then in late November, it couldn't go anymore. Why did it run out of steam? Sun was passing natal ascendant, Mercury was passing natal moon, Venus was passing natal moon. Price declined. Early January, the decline stopped, started to turn higher. Why? Moon was passing natal Jupiter. The midheaven was getting very near to the natal ascendant from the 1989 horoscope wheel. And most recently here in February, we've had Moon going past natal Jupiter. That triggered a bit of a drawdown. How much more it's going to draw down remains to be seen in the coming days. Now, here's the chart I want you to look at. What I've overlaid here in the lower panes of the chart are the slow stochastic and the derivative oscillator. Those are two technical chart indicators that I make a lot of use of. Not every software program is going to have the derivative oscillator. If you're lucky, you will have something called the ergodic oscillator. And some software programs will have oscillators such as the percent price oscillator. But what I've got here then is a stochastic and an oscillator function. And I've got my stock chart, and I've got the blue arrows, which denote the cosmic events that we've looked at in the previous couple slides. So here in July of 2022, we've declined, we've hit a bottom at the cosmic event, we start to turn higher. Do you buy it just because you've had a cosmic event? Yeah, you could, but I looked for some confirmation on the chart. So shortly, like literally days after the cosmic event, I've got the histogram bars on the derivative oscillator are now above the zero line. They're in positive territory. The slow stochastic not only has crossed over to give me a positive trend reading, but it's just gotten above the upper boundary line. Now I've got two buy signals on the technicals, and I've got a cosmic event. Yeah, I buy it. And good thing, because it moves from, $94 a share up to $130. Not bad. It runs out of steam at a cosmic event, but look at what else is happening. As it runs out of steam at that cosmic event, that price move just so happens to be 78.6% of the down move that preceded it. What is 78.6? Why is it significant? That's a Fibonacci retracement number. From that cosmic event, we decline to the next one. And by the way, how do you know it's time to get out? Well, you've got a cosmic event. You've got a Fibonacci very significant retracement, so that's evidence in and of itself. But the slow stochastic curls over and drops beneath the upper bound. The histogram bars on the derivative oscillator go negative. So I've got two technical indications. I've got a cosmic event and I've got a Fibonacci event, all screaming at me, get the hell out of the way. And yeah, good thing, because look at what the price did. It fell apart. But it didn't fall apart all at once. It came down and found some support. And conveniently enough, oddly enough, that happened to be a retracement of 61.8% of this preceding up move. 61.8, Fibonacci. Here's our cosmic event. Sun at natal sun, where we had the huge gap down. Why did the price not go further? well, that would have taken it beyond a Fibonacci 100% retracement of the prior move. So then the price starts to turn up. It looks like it might want to try to fill the gap. Do you buy? Well, sure. You've got your stochastic giving you a favorable signal. You've got the histogram bars now becoming positive. You could buy. You're going to have, it goes up and it pulls back. It causes you a little bit of angst. But then you eventually arrive at the next cosmic event. And guess what? That is a Fibonacci 38.2% retracement of the preceding down move. So now you've got a Fibonacci significant level. You've got a cosmic event. You've got the slow stochastic curling over and dipping beneath the upper bound. You've got your histogram bars on the derivative oscillator now going negative. Yeah, the market is telling you, get out of the way, sell it. You've made a little bit on the trade, but nevertheless, a little bit is better than nothing at all. Price rolls over and it declines, finds another cosmic event, starts to turn higher. Do you buy it? Sure. You've got your stochastic giving you a positive crossover. Your bars on your derivative oscillator are now positive. And it goes right back up and it again touches that 38.2 Fibonacci retracement. But look at what else it touched. The dotted line, the 200-day moving average. And then it's rolled over from there. And as it's rolled over, you say to yourself, well, I've got a cosmic event. I failed to get through the 200-day moving average. The stochastic has rolled over, curled over, and is now below the upper boundary line, and my histogram bars are now negative. Yeah, get out of the way. The market is telling you you don't want to be there. You've made your money. Move on. Look for the next one. And that is exactly how I do it, not only on Nutrien, but on all of the other stocks that I write about in my newsletters, all of the other stocks that I trade. That is precisely what I do. Now you know my secret, ladies and gentlemen. Full disclosure. So to sum it up, you're going to get your geocentric data, whether it's by way of software, by way of an online file that you find, or an actual ephemeris book that you buy. You've got the 1989 first trade horoscope. You know the groupings of the planets. You're looking then for Moon, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury to variously go by those groupings. You're looking at your technical chart indicators, your stochastic, your derivative oscillator. You're watching then for price moves to align to these Fibonacci 38.2, 61.8, 78.6 levels. And if you piece it all together, it's almost like detective work. You can pretty soon get in sync. You can get in tune with the price movements on any stock. So in terms of fundamentals, yes, I do look at them. Nutrien has a PE ratio of 6. It has a profit margin of 20%. I look at the free cash flow that a company is generating, and I say to myself, how many dollars do I have to pay to acquire $1 of free cash flow? And the answer in the case of Nutrien is 12. I look at a competitor, Mosaic, that's an American company in Saskatchewan. PE ratio of 6, profit margin is 20%. I got to pay $11.50 for $1 of free cash flow. So is Nutrien fairly priced in at just over $100? Yeah, it is. It is. So it's going to swing around. You know, it might dip down into the 90s. It might get back up into the 120s. But you're going to use astrology then every step of the way, because this thing is not, it's not like this is a $10 stock trading at 100. It is fairly valued in this $100 price range. You're just looking then to capture some of the swings up and down and make some money by virtue of astrology and Fibonacci and technical chart indicators. And so to wrap it up, don't forget that I every year put out the Financial Astrology Almanac. The 2023 version is out. If you like ebooks, yeah, it's on Kindle, Kobo. If you like Amazon, order it there and have it on your doorstep 4 to 5 days later. Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. If you want to go to your local bookstore and support your local retail community, your local bookstore lady can order it for you. She'll be getting it from a U.S. publisher called Ingram, and they're in, I believe, either Tennessee or North Carolina. But it's out there, and it is selling again this year. This is my 10th year of producing it. You can read more about me at investingsuccess.ca, and while you're there, take a look at some of the letters I produced for subscribers. There's the astrology letter, the resource trader, the mobility report, the cycles report. The mobility report is the most recent one. I'm having a lot of fun with that. Whatever moves humanity from point A to point B, whether it's an airplane, a train, an electric vehicle, I'm looking at stocks that are related to transportation. I'm looking at their astrology. I'm looking for ways to trade them to make money. If you want to take a basic course in financial astrology, you'll find me on a platform called Udemy, and I've got one course on there right now. I'm going to be designing more going forward. And that's it for here and now. So I've kept you longer than I expected. So thank you very kindly for watching, and maybe I'll just go and watch a little bit of the Super Bowl here right now. So have a great day, and look forward to another video coming out here in the not too distant future. Take care. Cheers.